As I approach the end of writing this talk, the truth and irony is that I, in fact, begun to talk myself out of happiness. Something I never usually do. Why now, of all the times? And especially during this global pandemic, it can become easy for all of us to be talked out of happiness. There I was, writing a talk about not talking yourself out of happiness, and here I was doing exactly the opposite. I started to feel like a fraud, questioning who I was, what I'd written. Why me to be delivering this message to you? Who am I? Turns out, I'm also human. I knew how to be happy, but I subconsciously wasn't allowing myself to be by choosing to wallow in my own self-pity in that moment and choose to not do the things that I knew could slowly change my mindset. It was then I realized I'd been reading my script so much that the very words I depend on each day had slowly become white noise. So I pushed myself to take my own advice again, listen to my words without judgment, and utilize the tools I so deeply believe in. Let's take a look at why the general population may be confused. Which one of these headlines do you gravitate towards? Happiness doesn't sell papers. Happiness doesn't get us taken seriously. Happiness isn't cool. We are invested in negativity, not only psychologically, but financially. The news is filled with cynicism and sadness. Social media is full of pretense and polarizing views. Our brains have become conditioned towards thinking that negativity is so normal that we start to distrust happiness. If you're ever watching a movie or a TV show, it's always when the couple is so in love or the family is perfect, that the car crashes or someone dies. It's built into us that when we feel happy, we automatically become suspicious, which makes us feel unsafe. Yale University, in fact, set up an experiment to determine if and why we are so drawn to the negative media. It turns out that even with the so-called intent of wanting more good news, the evidence pointed strongly to a negativity bias, which is the psychological term for our collective hunger to hear and remember the bad news. It would be nice to break that cycle, but it's not that easy. We have to start small. For example, anxiety is a huge issue, and rightfully so. I'm an absolute advocate of discussing mental health. But we need to be realistic in how we tackle the fleeting negative feelings. I'm not an advocate of overthinking those feelings and even potentially passing the negativity onto our peers like a virus. To be clear, I'm not talking about a neurological or genetic disorder. I'm talking about the constant noise in our heads. I've been faced with noise in mine. I do not suffer from anxiety or depression, but this doesn't mean I don't experience pain, anger, frustration, and sadness at times, or feel anxious. I have to fight to find the strength to not let those negative feelings define who I am. After all, no one walks around feeling excited 20% of the time and describes themselves as enthusiastic. So why, when we are anxious some of the time, is that then who we are? When negativity is in small doses, we flock to it, we magnify it. Now, because of my outgoing and vivacious personality, people tend to make quick judgments or assumptions about me. She must be on something, or depressed, or even bipolar, hiding my true emotions. Why do I have to be any of those things? Judgment and labeling happen when there is an inability to handle or understand difference. Maybe if we viewed ourselves and our world differently, the labels and stigma would become a distant memory. We can't be happy and anxious, you know. We are human beings. So what fuels our dysfunctional relationship with happiness? Comparison is one of the biggest drivers, mainly because of social media. Why do we believe that a picture or a video depicts someone's whole life? You don't catch me posting an argument with my husband about whether he should eat the avocado or not, even though it's never really about the avocado. We know this, yet why is our society so hell-bent on comparing our everyday lives to other people's carefully selected happy moments? These photos could have been taken directly before or after or even during a big fight. So comparison creates a negative imbalance, but we are also deluded by what actually makes us happy. Let's start with things. Money spent on actual experiences rather than tangible items has been proven to have a much longer happiness longevity. What about actions? Studies have shown that you're in fact happier working or being productive than chilling or doing nothing. Sorry. Then you have lifestyle. It can become easy to be blinded by a fantasy of success and money. And the end goal can sometimes result in us losing our moral grounding or even the connection to our own well-being. But there is another way, and the king of Bhutan seems to have found it. Before he abdicated the throne to his son in 2006, he launched a law called GNH, Gross National Happiness. He abolished the conventional government regulations and implemented a more mindful approach to development, calling happiness a fundamental human goal. A fundamental human goal. In fact, both his sons attended Ivy League schools in the US, and after they graduated, they both moved back to Bhutan, realizing the crux of their well-being was dependent on this way of life. Still, since we don't live in Bhutan, happiness is not automatically sustainable. We need to implement the tools in order to sustain it. You are in control of your own destiny, and it's up to you if you want to make your well-being a priority in your life. And I'm going to give you some tools right now that are meant to help you in achieving sustainable happiness. Set mini goals for yourself each week or each month. Write a poem, take a class, clear out your closet. Smile for absolutely no reason, but not creepily. This will help ease any negative emotion. Practice random acts of kindness on a frequent basis. Ironically, being mindful and kinder to others makes you happier. So everyone wins. Get those endorphins going. Exercise, go for a walk, listen or dance to your favorite song like no one's watching. Meditate. Sleep enough. Be social. Talk. Engage in conversation, even if you think it's the last thing you want to do. Be grateful by genuinely savoring moments. Be truthful and vulnerable. But my favorite one is, don't take yourself too seriously. Make a bad situation a great story. I had blood clots in my arm when I was 18, and they told me I would lose it. Spoiler alert, I didn't lose my arm. But when my thumb turned gangrene and it looked like I was going to lose that instead, I couldn't help but crack up when my mum genuinely offered me her toe as a replacement. True story. Laughter is the best medicine. Even in these dark times, try to find the funny. I'm Louise Monger, and I am a speaker who dares. Thank you.